I have a question with regards to fear.
Tengo una pregunta respecto al miedo.
I don't know, ever since I have been a child, I kind of felt that fear didn't make sense.
Desde que era niña sentía que el miedo no tenía sentido.
Because, you know, you never kind of get to the outcome of what's supposed to happen.
Porque nunca llegas a saber qué es lo que debería ocurrir.
Because everything appears, like you were saying, in awareness, and there's no conclusion to what the fear is supposed to mean.
Porque todo aparece en la conciencia y no hay conclusión sobre lo que el miedo debería significar.
And I always kind of felt that was always there, that it didn't make any sense. But regardless, the fear in the body and in the mind had always come up anyway.
Y siempre sentí que realmente no tenía sentido, pero de todas maneras el miedo aparece en la mente y en el cuerpo, de todas formas.
Because, you know, in my childhood, you would say that it was relatively uneasy and kind of like not a very kind of calm place.
Mi infancia no fue muy fácil ni calmada.
Yeah, and but I never really understood what it's supposed to all mean. So I guess my question is how what appears first, sort of the conditioning of the person, and then this sort of I don't know how to explain. So I think that the person is conditioned via, you know, the environment, right? The example, and so I guess I just I'm trying to understand if the fear just comes up from that, you know, like, so if you had always known yourself to be awareness and had never become the person, would the fear not exist?
La persona es condicionada por el contexto o por el entorno, y entonces lo que me gustaría saber es si siempre hubiéramos sabido que somos conciencia, si el miedo no aparecería.
So the short answer to your question is yes.
La respuesta corta es sí.
So now I'll elaborate on that.
Ahora voy a elaborar.
If we were never conditioned as a person, would the fear not arise in the first place? Yeah, it wouldn't arise, yes.
Si no fueras condicionada como persona que no es conciencia, entonces el miedo no aparecería.
As you rightly observed when you were young, the apparent cause of your fear never actually happened.
Como has observado correctamente cuando eras pequeña, la causa aparente del miedo no aparecía.
In other words, you had an intuition very early in your life that the fear you felt was not caused by something outside that was going to happen.
Tenías una intuición desde muy pequeña que lo que causaba el miedo no era algo que ocurría afuera.
And you were absolutely right.
Y tenías toda la razón.
This existential fear that you speak of
Este miedo existencial del que hablas
doesn't have an external cause.
no tiene una causa externa.
Its cause is the primary conditioning that each of us is subjected to, which is to believe that what we essentially are is limited to and located in the body.
Está basado en el condicionamiento al que nos someten a todos nosotros, que está basado en la creencia de que,
In other words, instead of knowing ourselves as inherently peaceful, eternally present awareness, we believe and feel ourselves to be a fragment.
creemos ser un fragmento en lugar de ser la conciencia absoluta y completa.
A collection of thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions, etc.
Creemos ser una colección de pensamientos, sentimientos, sensaciones y
And
percepciones.
this existential fear rises on behalf of this fragment.
Y este miedo existencial emerge como consecuencia de este fragmento,
This separate person.
esta persona separada.
And in order to avoid the discomfort of this fear,
y para evitar la incomodidad de este miedo,
the person spends the rest of its life seeking an object or a substance or an activity or a relationship in order to soothe or ease the pain of this fear.
y para evitar esto la persona dedica el resto de su vida a buscar objetos, sustancias, actividades o personas que puedan calmar este miedo.
None of us would be here this evening if that search for relief from fear or suffering had worked.
Ninguno de nosotros estaríamos aquí si esa búsqueda de alivio hubiera funcionado.
In fact, we are all here this evening precisely because it hasn't worked.
De hecho, estamos todos aquí precisamente porque no ha funcionado.
And the reason why it hasn't worked is because the source of the fear is not something outside of ourselves and therefore cannot be put right by something outside of ourselves.
Y la razón por la que no ha funcionado es porque la fuente o el origen de ese miedo no es algo fuera de nosotros.
The source of this fear is the belief and feeling that I am a fragment.
El origen de este miedo es la creencia y el sentimiento, la sensación de ser un fragmento,
Separate, temporary, finite person.
de ser una persona separada, temporal y finita.
In other words, the source of this fear is the forgetting or overlooking of ourselves as we truly are.
Así que el origen de este miedo es el olvido del quién somos realmente.
Ever present, imperturbable, inherently fulfilled awareness.
La conciencia siempre presente, imperturbable y plena.
So the cause of this existential fear is the forgetting or the overlooking of our essential nature.
Así que la causa de este miedo existencial es el olvido o el dejar de lado nuestra naturaleza esencial.
And the remedy for it is the remembering or the recognizing of our essential nature.
Y el remedio es recordar o reconocer nuestra naturaleza esencial.
With that recognition comes the peace and fulfillment that puts an end to this fear.
Con ese reconocimiento viene la paz y la plenitud que termina con ese miedo.
So when you give the example, for example, of the movie,
Cuando
Right.
das el ejemplo de la película,
in this sense, when one is watching a movie, one knows actually the boundary between themselves and the movie, which is what doesn't create the fear and makes people watch action films with a lot of dangerous subjects.
así
Right?
que cuando uno está viendo la película, conoce ese límite entre uno mismo y la película, por eso podemos ver películas de miedo y de acción.
Whereas in the case of awareness, it's specifically because there is this boundary between yourself and others that creates the fear in that sense. Because now you know yourself as a person, and now you have the separation. And so I don't quite know where that is, that border, that boundary between when you, see the character, for example, that interacts with people, and yourself, awareness that is inseparable from what appears in it.
En el caso de la conciencia es un poco más difícil porque yo no sé muy bien dónde está ese límite entre yo y los otros o entre yo y la conciencia.
Well, just as there is no boundary between a screen and the movie,
Pero del mismo modo que no hay separación entre la pantalla y la película,
there is no border between awareness and experience.
no hay límite entre la conciencia y la experiencia.
In other words, awareness is intimately one with all experience.
En otras palabras, la conciencia es íntimamente una con toda la experiencia.
But that doesn't mean that at the level of the characters in the movie,
Pero eso no significa que los personajes en la película,
relative boundaries are not appropriate.
que sus límites relativos no sean apropiados.
Just because all the characters in the movie are made of the same indivisible screen,
El hecho de que todos los personajes de la película estén hechos de la misma pantalla
doesn't mean that appropriate boundaries are not respected by characters in the movie.
no significa que los límites entre los personajes de la película no sean respetados.
Likewise, it can be clear to us that there is no difference, no distance between our self-awareness and anything that we experience.
Del mismo modo, no hay distancia entre la conciencia y cualquier cosa que podamos experimentar.
But at the same time, at a relative level, we can maintain appropriate boundaries in our activities and relationships.
Pero del mismo modo, desde el punto de vista relativo, podemos mantener los límites entre nosotros.
There's no contradiction between the two.
No hay contradicción entre las dos.
Yes, I understand what you mean. I guess it's just the point of finding that where you feel like there is that boundary, which makes all these emotions arise, all these sort of fearful emotions and such. Even when you're not trying to get rid of them, they still kind of come up and appear and you observe.
Entiendo lo que dices, pero supongo que es el caso de intentar encontrar dónde está ese límite, porque las emociones de todas maneras aparecen.
The important thing to understand is on whose behalf your fear is arising.
Lo importante es comprender para quién emergen el miedo.
If someone is attacking you physically,
Si alguien te ataca físicamente,
then your fear arises on behalf of the body in order to protect it.
y el miedo aparece para proteger al cuerpo,
That is perfectly legitimate.
eso es perfectamente
It's
legítimo.
just a natural functioning of the body.
Es una función natural del cuerpo.
But much of the time, our fear is not a response to an actual situation.
Pero muchas veces nuestro miedo no es una respuesta a una situación concreta.
It's an imaginary fear.
Es un miedo imaginario.
And it's a fear that arises on behalf of an imaginary separate self.
Y es un miedo que emerge para un personaje imaginario.
If you were to ask yourself the question now, who am I really?
Si te hicieras la pregunta, ¿quién soy yo realmente?
What's the answer?
¿Cuál es la respuesta?
The one that knows my experience.
The one that knows your experience, including your experience of fear.
Aquel que conoce mi experiencia, incluyendo la experiencia del miedo.
The one that knows your thoughts is not itself a thought.
Aquello que conoce tus pensamientos no es un pensamiento.
The one that knows your fear is not itself fearful.
Aquello que conoce tu miedo no tiene miedo, no es miedo.
All you need to do to be free of your fear is to go to yourself.
Así que lo único que tienes que hacer para liberarte del miedo es ir a tu
That one
ser.
doesn't need to be made free of fear. It is inherently free of fear.
Ese ser no tiene que ser liberado del miedo, es inherentemente libre de miedo.
And it's not at a distance from yourself. Yourself is not inaccessible.
Y no está alejado de tu ser, no es inaccesible.
You are there in the background of all your experience,
Tu ser está ahí en el trasfondo de toda tu experiencia,
watching it or knowing it or being aware of it.
mirándola o conociéndola o siendo consciente de
That's the
ella.
place to go for freedom from fear.
Ese es el lugar al que hay que ir para liberarse del miedo.
You don't even have to go there because you are there already. You are that already.
Ni siquiera tienes que ir ahí porque tú ya eres eso.
It's just necessary to see yourself in this moment as you truly are.
Simplemente es necesario verte a ti misma como realmente eres.
I am aware of the fear, but I am not myself afraid.
Soy consciente del miedo, pero yo no tengo miedo.
The fear is a configuration of your mind and your body, yes?
El miedo es una configuración de tu mente y tu cuerpo.
It's a combination of your thoughts and tensions in the body.
Es una combinación de tus pensamientos y tensiones en el cuerpo.
Well, are you a bundle of thoughts and sensations?
¿Eres un conjunto de pensamientos y sensaciones?
No.
Or are you the one in whom they appear and with which they are known?
¿O eres aquello en lo que ellos aparecen y con lo que es conocido?
Be knowingly that one.
sé conscientemente.
And your fear will
Eso.
be robbed of the one thing that it needs to continue, which is your belief in the entity, which is your belief in the separate entity.
Y el miedo será robado de lo único que le alimenta, que es la creencia de un ser separado.